and welcome to the first episode of MelonHeavyHorror. I will be your host with the Creepy Cans, Nikki, and today I'm going to take you to school for some reading, writing, and radiation. So we are going to be talking about the Class of Nuke High, which is, of course, the 1986 trauma classic, directed by Michael Hers and Uncle Lloyd himself. Although he did direct it under his pseudonym Samuel Wheel, which I recently found out is the name of his great-great-grandpa. So kind of interesting there. Now, if you want to avoid any succulent spoilers, I would suggest that you stop the video now, go watch the movie, and then of course, come back to the review and see what we had to say. For this week's episode, first we'll talk a little bit about the plot for those that maybe haven't seen it and don't mind the spoilers. I also will be discussing the melon heavy moments, otherwise known as all of the times there are tits. Also, I will break down what I like to call the heavy hitters, those moments of particular interest with special effects, one-liners, practical effects, things like that. We'll also talk about all of the great music in this movie. Trauma has some really interesting music choices, and I think in this movie they really knock it out of the park, so we'll talk about that. At the end, I do also have a gloriously gorgeous cosplay for you, so I hope you'll stay tuned for that. Okay, let's let the trauma terror begin. Okay, just so that you know what you're getting yourself into here, let's talk about what the hell is Class of Nuke High. So, from you dreary dweebs who maybe haven't seen it, I suggest you go watch it right now. But Class of Nuke High, again, was a 1986 trauma movie that came out, giving a very horrifically high-level talk of the plot. We are at Traumaville High School, where the students are undergoing a really marvelous mutation due to the inept management over at the Traumaville Nuclear Utility. So, seriously, you haven't seen nuclear mismanagement this bad since Chernobyl. These guys, pretty much the same person. So our story follows Chrissy and Warren, who are two young Traumaville High School lovers who get nudged into the sexual stratosphere with the help of an indoor bikini party. Sounds amazing. And of course, the atomic high.
This weed, an atomic high.
Things do start to get ugly for our young lovers when the after effects of the tainted weed that they've consumed start to kick in. Marijuana, not even once, kids. After this, Warren goes after the Cretans and seeks justice for the tainted pot that they've given to him and Chrissy. And honestly, at that point, things just escalate into a full-blown subhuman meltdown. And it eventually winds up leveling the entire school. And really, you kind of just need to see the rest of it for yourself. So, of course, we wouldn't have a trauma movie without some social commentary, and Class of Nuke High is definitely no different. Lloyd says that he was inspired to begin work on Class of Nuke High because in Long Island they were putting in a brand new power plant right in the middle of a very heavy populated area, and he noted that they were using the cheapest building materials they could. They went with the cheapest contractors, the cheapest concrete, you name it. And so that really inspired him to write Class of Nuke High as a statement about that. So I believe it's the Shoreham power plant, but I'm not totally sure on that. So actually Lloyd went as far as to call that power plant the trauma movie of nuclear facilities, which, you know, when Lloyd Kaufman's calling you out for doing something on the cheap, I think we can really be rest assured that it was very bad. So, you know, as always with the trauma movies, we've got a lot of really interesting social points, and actually there's a few more that I'll talk about during this review. Just more reasons that I love this movie and, you know, trauma in general. Alright, so I would not be able to call this Melon Heavy Horror if I didn't bring you abreast of all of the tits in this movie. Now, if you haven't seen it, the term melon heavy breasts actually comes from Class of Nuke High 2 Subhumanoid Meltdown. It's a line used quite often in that movie. I'll actually be reviewing that here in the next couple of weeks, so keep on the lookout for that if you like today's review. And anyway, so I would say there's a total of 4 boobs in this movie. Now, we did have one false boob alert there at the beginning where we thought we were going to get a tit, and then we didn't quite get it. So 4, maybe 5, depending on that. Also, I guess if you count the one boob from Warren's nightmarish scene after they have the night with the marijuana, I guess you could bring that to 6, but I don't really count that. So, you might be wondering how we got a movie from Troma that only has 4 tits in it. I thought the same thing at first, and then I started looking into the script a little bit more. So at the end of the movie, we're introduced to the character Taru, who we don't really see a lot throughout the movie. You can tell in the end that she's playing a huge role, and so you start to wonder why she wasn't in the rest of the movie. Turns out she was going to bring us a lot of vicious villain tits and some great nudity. However, the actress, Lauren Heather McMahon, was in an accident during filming. So she wasn't able to film the rest of her scenes. Other actresses had to be brought in, and you know, the story had to be rewritten a little bit with her not there. Interestingly, Lloyd has said before, I believe it was in the director's commentary, that normally he likes to shoot scenes in order. So first scene first, second scene second, so on and so forth. In this case, obviously, that must not have happened, so we wind up with these precious Taru scenes at the end. We should have had more of her, but it just wasn't how it panned out. Now, I get the impression that Taru, in some ways, was Troma's answer to Trash of 1985's Return of the Living Dead, also one of my favorite movies as well. So really, I feel like there was a parallel there that they were going to make, but it just didn't pan out that way. Now, who knows what direction Taru's character would have been taken in if she'd been able to be in the entire movie as planned. We only did get a few scenes with her, but whew, boy, what scenes they are.
Let me go!
Alright, so let's talk some of my favorite heavy hitter moments in this movie. It actually opens up with a nerd named Dewey who is in serious need of a pocket projector. It's one of my all-time favorite sequences in any movie. I think it's perfect. For everything from the practical effects to his facial expressions, I mean, it's all perfect.
Line up your students next to the door until a hall monitor can escort them out to the bus.
Where will you be when the edibles kick in? Alright, now, one of my all-time favorite death scenes, which is made even better because they use all practical effects, but that would be poor Dewey's death. So they used everything from the foaming Alka-Seltzer in the mouth trick to a melting puppet. Did they really turn him into one really crispy critter? I mean, and also, Look at that O face. Okay, so let's talk Cretans. The Cretans have a lot of really great moments in this movie, and I mean, sometimes you love them, sometimes you hate them, and then other times you hate that you love them. So they have a lot of really interesting points here, but one of my absolute favorite Cretan moments, I don't think it gets enough love, but I absolutely love when Spike winds up turning Miss Stein into a Cretan using only his kiss. I mean, if that's what a kiss can do, imagine what else that mouth can do.
Ich glaube, du hast die schönsten blaue Augen, die ich gesehen habe.
That note, was anyone else curious what Spike is saying to Miss Stein in that scene? I always wondered. So I went ahead and I looked it up. It turns out Spike, or the actor who plays Spike, Robert Pritchard? Not sure how you say that. Anyway, turns out that he actually speaks German, so they wound up writing that into the script. And as a fun little tidbit of information here, Spike and Miss Stein are actually married in real life. I believe that they met on the set of The Toxic Avenger, but I'm not 100% on that. It's a trauma love story for the ages, though. Now, he does lean in. I love this so much. And he says to her, "You have the most beautiful blue eyes I have ever seen." That's really oddly sweet for a Cretan. So I don't know what my fascination is with Miss Stein, but another one of my favorite heavy-hitting moments in Class of Nuke High is Miss Stein's Cretan reveal. So I'm talking about that scene where she's in the bathroom, she does her makeup, and then there's the slow, dramatic turn towards the camera where she reveals her Cretan makeup. And everything about that moment is just perfect. I mean, her expression, the music in the background, I mean, everything is just orchestrated so perfectly that it really creates a moment where you know, you see this reveal of her, and it's fabulous. Now, of course, the movie does center around some seriously dangerous dank. You know, some very curiously strong chronic, if you will. But, you know, I really think their faces when they take their hits kind of say it all.
Not the way it's done. What?
As far as favorite moments in this film go, I'd have to give honorable mention to Warren's big intro in the alleyway. I seriously, every time I see this moment, I picture the Arthur meme of the balled up fist. I mean, look at him. I really think Warren has a lot of fun moments in this movie, particularly when he gives new meaning to the term deep throat. Alright, so the last half of the movie does have a lot of great scenes in it, but I really don't want to give you too many spoilers because I think Class of Nuke High is one of those things that you really kind of just need to experience for yourself. So let's go ahead and move on to some music appreciation.
Oh, say, can you see?
Whew, I don't know about you, but my patriotism has never been so picked. Alright, so first up here, let's talk theme song. Honestly, I really love any movie that has the balls to have its own theme song that actually talks about the movie. I mean, it's really deliciously catchy even, so I think that's why I really love it. I mean, where else but in a trauma movie can you use the term Geiger counter in a song and have it actually be catchy and get stuck in your head? Now, Ethan Hertz did the music, a lot of the music for Class of Nuke 'Em High, and they're performed by Ethan and the Coup, which is his band. So, you know, they get credited with a lot of the soundtrack, but there are a few more honorable mentions in the movie. A lot of, you know, 80s style hits. So, you know, of course, the focal point of the Bikini Beach Party scene is the Smithereens performing their song Much Too Much. Now, Lloyd said that he tried to talk the band into putting on hazmat suits for the filming, or something like a biohazard type suits. They wanted to stick with their more traditional look, so they're in those the kind of like slight turtleneck and some jeans, which, you know, years later we would come to know as the Steve Jobs look. So, you know, I feel like I'm just watching a bunch of Steve Jobs clones play in a band, but if you walk away from this movie without that song Much Too Much stuck in your head, you're a stronger person than me, because I still find myself singing it throughout the day. So, throughout the movie, we're also treated to Rock and Roll Paradise from Stormbringer, as well as Run for Your Life from Stratus. So, if you're still with me up till this point, you are in for a treat here. I do have a surprise for you. Alright, dirtbags, who's ready for some reading, writing, and radiation? I have got my Cretin Cosplay going here. I mean, you see what happens when a member of the Honor Society gets a hold of some nuclear weed. Let's talk Cretans for a moment, because they are some of my favorite characters in any trauma movie ever. One of my favorite things about the Cretans has always been the sort of, I don't know, gender bending aspects that they have. You'll notice that, for example, you know, we have the Hitler-esque mustache, and you also have Muffy, who uses the men's bathroom and pees in the urinal. So, again, you've got a little bit of the gender bending aspects in some of the different Cretans. So I've always really thought that was pretty cool. Come to find out, the Cretan look was actually inspired by one of Lloyd's trips over to, I believe it was Holland, and to into Brussels. So, you know, on his trip over there, he was really influenced heavily by kind of the punk culture and the counterculture that, you know, was going on at the time, and so, you know, it really is a wonderful thing for him to have thrown into the movies. I think it's a cool aspect to bring back, and it really paid off heavily in the Cretans. They have that awesome mix of, you know, crazy and cool, so I really think that they did a great job on that. Thanks for tuning in to MelonHeavyHorror's first ever episode, where I've talked to you about Class of Nuke 'Em High, one of my favorite trauma movies. So, as always, I am your host with the Creepy Cans, Nikki, and you are welcome to subscribe and like, please, and each week you will see the new videos that I'm bringing for you. You can also look me up on socials. I will be on Twitter, as well as on Instagram, and I'll include the links in the information. I do hope you'll stop by and say hi. I'd love to hear from you.